All right.
Oh, okay.
Thanks everybody for joining us this evening for the May 12th work session. We'll kick it off with a roll call.
Mayor Garitano, Councilmember Brost,
Here.
Councilmember Edens,
Here.
Councilmember Ottenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell. Here. Councilmember Marshall, Councilmember Jaxi, Councilmember Hopper, Councilmember Galani, Councilmember Preston,
Here.
Councilmember Mabry,
Here.
Councilmember Nyan. Here. Councilmember Farmer,
Here.
Councilmember McCutcheon,
Here.
Councilmember Rambo,
Here.
Councilmember Krantz,
Here.
Councilmember Albers.
All right. Thanks for that. We'll save the announcements and the comments for our first session. So that takes us to our 4 information items. Is there anything specific anybody wants to bring up or has any questions about or anything like that? Nothing particular? Joe or Rick, anything specific you want to tell us all about? All right. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So I thought on the tablets that the gated Turnberry was null and void, but it's on our agenda with a dollar amount. Can you explain?
Yeah, we're going to get to that here in just a moment.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to thank whoever in the department put together the framework for a policy for evaluation and long-term management of gates and street construction. That was a very well put together document indicating pros, cons, and methods for remediating some of those problems. So thank you for whoever put all that data together.
Yeah, thank you for whoever did put all that together. Okay. Up next, that brings us to our 4 action items. Up first, we've got our framework as discussed. Framework for evaluating long-term management of street obstructions on public rights of way. I assume Mr. Brown, is that you?
Council members, very good. I apologize. This first item on the agenda, I was planning to defer it to our city administrator, although he looks a little bit busy at the moment. But this item, by and large, came out of our Admin and Public Works Committee relative to a discussion about gates and obstructions being utilized to close streets on mainly the public right of way. This was a motion that was made by the Admin Public Works Committee to bring forward to the full council for consideration. Essentially, it is a development for a framework of a policy that we would follow in terms of addressing existing gates and obstructions on the right of way and evaluating those for potential removal for the terms of the policy as written. So the policy framework is presented to you tonight. And I think with the idea that a motion would enable us to move forward, a favorable motion would enable us to move forward, finalizing the policy and then presenting it back to the council at a later date for formal approval. Correct me if I'm wrong in my understanding. So with that, I'll defer to the city administrator or the chair of the Admin Public Works Committee if they would like to add further information.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor Pro Temp. And this policy is more of a framework. It would still need to be drafted into legislation. But tonight, with the discussion that took place at Admin PW, the Administration Public Works Committee, the idea was to have a standardized system to grade any obstruction that's currently in the right of way, specifically on public land, and then also be able to bring that back with almost an automatic process. So then the council could consider whether or not it needs to be removed. But it does force the action. And then secondly, for future development, if there's a developer that comes in that wants to do a gate or a delineators, or you want to have posts that would obstruct the right of way for primary access, this would practically just answer that question on the planning side up front, and for planning and zoning as well, by saying that is prohibited and based off this framework, and it cannot proceed. So we would no longer have any, back and forth on whether or not they're allowed. It would just be a firm black and white answer on whether or not we can have obstructions in the right of way. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just add one last thing because this kind of came out of the Board of Public Safety first. We had a good conversation there and then another one at admin and PW, and our fire department and our police partners were pretty emphatic that we need to not do these kinds of things. And if possible, make some adjustments wherever we can. So the framework is not to go out and start taking things apart tomorrow or anything like that, but to put a process in place so we can figure out how that happens. So if anybody has any questions or thoughts, obviously we can entertain them or we can push forward. If anybody cares to make a motion, Mr. Marshall.
I'd be happy to make a motion, move this forward and to shore it up for everybody and bring it back to a
All right.
next meeting.
Seconded by Ms. Dodwell. Any comments? Yes, sir. Mr. Mabry.
Thank you, Mayor.
I just jotted some notes down, and you may have touched on one, but these provisions will be reflected and amended in all the city's pertinent building permit and processes so that it's not a surprise. All right, next. You also may have touched on another retroactive removals of existing obstructions. Who bears restorative cost, and is there going to be an active process to get around to addressing those where they exist? I got 3 in Ward 2 alone.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And finally, does this apply equally and as intelligently for private roadways as much as it does for public right-of-ways?
Based on our conversations, no, because they're private in nature and not public. So we have a little bit of a more difficult time, I guess, legislating how that's going to look, just like we do with their widths and things like that. But it's certainly something I would say down the road that would be worth a conversation. I think that I think that there's maybe 1 or 2 private ones that have those. I think, Rick, the number we had at admin and PW, there's 13, but that's on just the public roads, right? Or was that all of them?
I think it was all of the ones that we have, public and private. The vast majority, frankly, were private or relative to the state parks or county park.
Got it. Yeah. So the parks and stuff, no. Yes, sir.
I'd like it is unofficially or officially recorded that any roadway in the city that expects service from first responders would be included in the same bucket as all the other streets that would be private, public right-of-ways. Private roadways have no privilege if they're expecting services of first responders, not even to the extent of a padlock on a swing gate if no other streets are allowed the same provisions. So that's a all in, everyone's equal, no one's excluded, no one's exclusive.
We can certainly take a look at that when we do the framework. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I completely disagree with that philosophy. So if we're going to talk about it again, I don't have to rant about it.
Yeah, the idea will be, I mean, this is just taking in the memo that we all have as sort of a guidance. So if anybody has any components they want to add into the conversation, that's what will happen the next time around. So, I mean, we can certainly take that suggestion under advisement and look at it. But the idea is to try to put a framework in place so that we know exactly what these things are scoring. Ms. Edens.
I think a standard policy for the city for gates is absolutely appropriate. I just want to leave you with this as I get off council. I cannot express how much the residents of Turnberry would like that road stays closed where it is currently closed by the city. There are some old public studies that were done with traffic, including speed as far back as the early 2000s, and I've forwarded that to my colleagues. So please take that in mind that it was closed originally due to safety and speeding concerns. Those concerns didn't go away just because it doesn't need a gate as determined by the fire marshal.
Yeah, as you read through it, especially in Monarch Fire District, a lot of those gates are secondary access. They're not the primary public street access. So those would not be affected, and that we'd not be opening that up and building public streets. So in Ward 2 and 3, there's a lot of Monarch secondary gates that would not be affected from the public street side.
All right. Anybody else? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Oh, and just a point of information, bouncing off what Councilmember Marshall said, in the emergency response meetings with Metro, or not Metro, Monarch, and Metro actually. Monarch has suggested that the city look into gates that close during emergencies due to road flooding to stop public access. So keep that in mind with whatever written policy, that we don't write ourselves out of being able to install or use that when necessary. So that's a different type of concern, and it would be related to an automatic gauge that would sense when the water levels rose in the creek, and this is to prevent swift water rescue. So just make sure that the written policy doesn't prevent the city from installing that.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, nobody else has any thoughts. We've got our first and our second, so that takes us to a vote. If you would, please. I guess can we do a voice vote? All right, voice vote. All in favor on moving forward the idea of putting this plan in place? Please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Ms. Edens abstains. All right. Well then, Mr. Brown, I guess we're excited to see what you guys come up with. Don't go anywhere yet, Rick. I think this one might be you too. Up next, we've got our contractor bids for the proposed gate in Turnberry Place.
Thank you, Councilmember Farnborough. Council members, this next item again is from our Edmond Public Works Committee relative to discussion about gates on public streets. In this case, primarily or particularly Turnberry subdivision. And this item has been in front of City Council previously. Just to refresh your memory, the location at Turnberry is at Turnberry Place Drive, right near Strucker Road. If you drive by, there's a fence over part of the road. And there's flexible delineator posts over the southbound lanes. The southbound lanes are restricted with the posts to allow emergency access. These were basically installed shortly after incorporation in 1996. The residents were upset because residents or motorists were cutting through between Strucker Road and Clayton Road. At the time, as I understand it, really both roads were not in their current configuration. The county roadway was unimproved and was subsequently improved, as was Strucker Road by the city. So the situation that was occurring back in 1995, 1994 was not the situation we have currently. Obviously, we also have the posts and the fence over the road. So the department, or the prior direction of the council, did get some bids, some current bids. We advertised publicly, and we received 3 bids for the installation of the gate. Again, this would be to replace the flexible posts with a permanent gate over the southbound half of that approach. The existing fenced side would remain as is. We would only replace the posts with a permanent solar-powered gate that would meet the requirements of the fire marshal and the Metro West Fire District. So the quotes that we received for the installation were around $19,000. The company that was a little bit, frankly, was out of Virginia. They indicate that they do this around the country consistently. So the gate quote that we received was competitive and seemed to be reasonable from that perspective. After discussing this in more detail, as was alluded to earlier with the fire marshal, they expressed concerns about the installation of the gate, namely that it will slow their current means of accessing the subdivision rather than just driving over the posts. And for that reason, it went to Board of Public Safety. The Board of Public Safety passed 2 motions opposing the gate. This location in particular, and as we just discussed, essentially gates on other public roads in the city of Wildwood. So with that, it was reconsidered at the Admin Public Works Committee, and I know Mr. Farmer's ready to say something probably. And at that point, it was not supported by the committee overall at our meeting last Tuesday night. So as we were previously directed to do, we did bring this back to the full council as it has been in front of you as a board, as a council as a whole. So at this point, I'll wrap up and I'll be available for any questions at this point. But again, it was not supported by the whole Admin Public Works Committee at this time. Thank you.
I got you. Yeah, so just a little bit extra housekeeping. So because we had requested this prior, it has to be presented to us sort of regardless of what we just decided this first piece for. But I'll reiterate again, I mean, for those of you that don't make that drive, it is a kind of a weird intersection. And so the fire department specifically and our friends in the police department, you know, weren't huge fans of the idea of the gate. There is also difficulty for a fire truck making that turn just by nature of how that is currently oddly configured. So assuming that our previous legislation moves forward, this would be a area where we would then score this site and then determine what, if anything, is necessary moving forward. So there's that. Ms. Edens.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify because this is under for action, not information. Are you looking for a motion tonight?
I mean,
Because my recommendation would be for this to be postponed until the next meeting because we started dialogue with the trustees in 2023. They didn't have enough notice to know that their subdivision's even being talked about tonight. And I think they should be a part of the conversation.
I mean, if you'd like to make a motion to postpone it, you certainly can. We can see how that works out.
I would. Let's make a motion to postpone to the main June meeting of
All right.
work session.
Mr. Mabry, second. All right. We've got a first and a second. Any discussion on the postponement? Yes, ma'am.
On the postponement side of things, if we are going to postpone it, can we get the current white picket fence, for lack of a better term, that isn't going to be replaced as part of this $18,000 investment, stabilized so it quits falling onto Strecker Road?
Perhaps we can have that conversation. Let's see how the postponement thing goes first, shall we? All right, we can try this with a voice vote. Oh, Mr. Mabry, do you have something you wanted to add? Is your mic on?
Councilperson Dodwell. I stopped there and took a dozen and a half pictures over the weekend. And what I'd like people going by there to look at is whether or not that gate's been intentionally knocked sideways or kimber by people who want to use the end of that sidewalk to either cross the road at that point, which is the natural spot they need to cross the road to the next sidewalk, or they just don't have anywhere to walk behind the trees that are planted there and they have to knock the fence over in order to get across the intersection to walk further down Strecker Road. That's all, really. All right.
I don't think that's a bone of contention because you can walk past it just fine. If I can stop my car and get out and pick up the fence and put it back in place 3 times over the last 2 months, then I think that the walkers are going to be just fine. And there are multiple crosswalks along Strecker Road where an individual has lights that we've paid for and a crosswalk for them to make that transition from one side of the road to the other. So I know I sound kind of bitchy here, for lack of a better term, but we put up so much stuff along Strecker Road that it's almost like a Las Vegas or something. But anyway.
You didn't sound at all like that to me. I was just trying to figure out how on earth would somebody figure out how to knock that specific piece of fencing over? And I've seen it knocked over side, leaning over more than once. So you're
Cars
not
pull
anything
through
more.
and decide to turn around or try to go through.
Mr. Albers.
Just a couple of facts in researching this. I guess all this occurred after most residents were moved in. They're in there and then all of a sudden everybody doesn't want it to be a cut through street. And I think this was led by a former council person back at the time. And I think Clayton Road is a better road than it was. And that's why just facts to consider when voting now.
All right. Anybody else? I'll just add this, not for or against necessarily on this thing, but assuming we wind up passing this framework and we're putting a prohibition in on gates and other things like that, we can certainly postpone this, Lauren, if you want. It's just, that's a somewhat, I don't know. It's sort of a delay for no reason. There's not a lot of change that can happen. I think what I would suggest is if we pass this framework and the city goes out to do the scoring and things like that, that's probably the part of the conversation I would recommend that residents come in for. We're not advocating anything be opened or anything right now. It's just a matter of, are we going to have a gate? We just said we don't want gates. we can certainly ask in a month if we want to have gates. I doubt we're going to change our mind, but we'll try now. Let's do it with a voice vote. Colleen, you good on the motion? All right. All those in favor of postponing this agenda item into next month,
Aye.
say aye. All those opposed? Opposed. Any abstentions? All right, I think the opposed have it, but I think I heard Mr. Mabry, Ms. Eanes, and Mr. Brost. Was that right? Who was the other opposed person over there? I heard somebody over there. So 3 opposed, everybody else, or 3-4, I guess, everybody else opposed. Sure, everybody put your hands up so Colleen can get the notes. All those in favor of postponing, please raise your hand. Do a roll call. All right, we'll do a roll call, Colleen. That'll make life a little easier.
Councilmember Edens,
Yes.
Councilmember Ottenberg,
No.
Councilmember Dodwell,
No.
Councilmember Marshall,
No.
Councilmember Hopper,
No.
Councilmember Preston,
No.
Councilmember Mabry,
Yes.
Councilmember Nyan. No. Councilmember Farmer,
No.
Councilmember McCutcheon,
No.
Councilmember Rambo,
No.
Councilmember Krantz, Councilmember Albers, Councilmember Brost.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us back now to the initial motion, which upon advisement from our city attorney would be, do we want to accept the bids and move forward with the gate or not? So we would be looking for a motion to either move forward or not move forward with the gate. Whomever wants to make that, we can do that, and then we'll vote from there. Mr. Mabry.
Motion.
That was the last motion. So your motion now would be, do you want to have a gate or not have a gate?
Want to have a gate? I don't want to not have it. Have the policy before.
Okay, so Mr. Albers. No gate, seconded by Mr. Krantz. Okay. Colleen, you good? Everybody clear on what we're doing here? Okay. All those in favor of rejecting the bid and therefore turning down the gate, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'd like to abstain.
All right. Ms. Eanes abstains. Mr. Mabry abstains. The motion passes. No gate. Okay. Moving on.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is a point of order or maybe just a point of inquiry. You always vote the right way as a council person, but you as mayor pro tem, do you still get to vote? I was confused
so
on that.
I was going to bring that up in the next part, but yes, so I get to vote just as a council person. I don't get any
All
extra
right.
say in things. So if we tie tonight, it fails.
Okay,
I don't
good.
get to do any of that. All right. Mr. Vunich, this one would be you, our Wildwood Celebration Commission brick program.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council, the Wildwood Celebration Commission has prepared a report with recommendation regarding a proposal to do fundraising through the sale of bricks at Village Green. The reason this particular item is before you tonight is that at no time up to this point, at least for phase one, has there been a discussion of any type of fundraising or brick sales to be placed then in Village Green. The feeling on the part of the commission members was that given the costs that are associated with both phase one and phase two, and the opportunity to offer residents and others a place to have a memorial or a recognition or some type of achievement would be appropriate. There are plenty of pavers in Village Green, so we have enough probably to fund the government for the next 100 years. But suffice to say, the Wildwood Celebration Commission feels it's important to basically implement this program and be able to raise funds for Village Green, where the celebration will be held this September and years thereafter. On the screen, Mr. Newberry was kind enough to show you the brick sizes that are going to be offered. There are three different colors. Two of those colors were selected and they're identified in the report as regimental red and admiral full range. So tonight, given it's a change to the plan for Village Green Phase 1, it is before you for action. If there are any questions, Mayor Pro Tem, the department would be glad to answer them at this time.
All right,
Thank you.
Mr. Alberts.
Would the costs go to help the Essen log cabin construction too?
That is the intent. In fact, that was one of the key points that were discussed as the proposal was being prepared.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Motions and contribution side, or can any questions of a technical nature be brought up about
About the
overall
bricks?
paver?
I mean, I guess you can ask some technical questions about the bricks.
Like current selling price for the smallest brick 4x8 is $50. I became aware of this program only through a survey and researching that. Whomever bought the brick at $50 is quite savvy. I'm familiar with at least one person I know in. So turn it on and speak into it. I'm sorry. The current selling cost $50. The total cost of a brick has been found out to be $192.60. And then you're proposing to sell them for as close to darn near cost as you can get away with, only $8 more than cost on $200 price. Shouldn't the city be doing this to make a margin and apply that margin to such things as the log cabin? That's the first thing I thought of. Is why not $250? Why not more? Someone wants a brick, they can pay $50 more than $200 to get it.
Well, the current brick program is only applicable at Old Pond School, and we set that price years and years ago, quite frankly, about 2006, 2007 timeframe. We have talked about raising that cost, and that's part of an effort that our program budget committee discussed relative to all our fees and charges and et cetera. But this is the price structure the commission members settled on. And again, if the city council would prefer to have a more increase in the prices, that's certainly within your purview.
Thank you.
Ms. Dywell.
I'd like to make a motion that we raise the prices from 200 to 250, from 250 to 300, and from 300 to 350.
Can I offer a suggestion, if you don't mind? Joe, are you asking us to approve the price points or just the program?
Well, certainly tonight, the recommendation report is all inclusive. So yes, that would be the intent. We can certainly split the motion, so to speak.
I'm just wondering, we've done this now on a couple other items across the city, but things in the world are a little fluctuation heavy these days. So it might make more sense to figure out like what the actual cost is and then affix a percentage in terms of what that price to the citizenry is going to be. And then that can be reviewed, let's say annually with the rest of our financial packages, and then it adjusts accordingly.
Councilmember Farmer, the total cost is already listed in the information that we have here. So we know what the cost will be, and that's why I was.
Yeah, I'm just saying, instead of doing a fixed number, let's figure out the percentage so that if it goes up, then because next year the bricks might be $300. We have no idea.
I can change my motion to a certain percentage.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody want to do the math real quick and figure out what the percentage is? Okay.
That's the first thing I thought. Just
A 15% over cost?
I'll see you and raise you to 25%. Because that's what I thought, and that's what council member Preston thought, just out of the top of our head.
So what percentage did you guys want to go?
25% over cost.
25% over cost. All right. Okay, we've got 20. I feel like an auctioneer here all of a sudden. We got 25% over cost. Anybody care to second that? Well, you made it. Now you got to second it. So Katie's going to make it. Mr. Preston will second it. Any discussion? Ms. Edens?
Yeah, I just want to say so I'm the council member liaison for this commission, and part of the thought process was, yes, it's helpful to make some money with cost increases, but we tried to keep in mind what we thought somebody would actually pay for a brick. And I don't know that someone's going to pay $350, $400 for a brick. So that was part of the logic. So I see where you're going, that you want to make 15% off of that, but just because I just voted on that in that commission, I don't feel like it's appropriate to change my vote because I know where they're coming from on that. So, but think about what somebody might actually be willing to pay.
Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Is this the only vendor that can engrave bricks? Because that does seem, the retail price cost to us seems pretty steep.
The brick provider, or the paver provider that has been working with us for years at Old Pond School, escalated their prices substantially. And so we actually went out and did that research, and Gift Brick has been the least expensive of the core group. And they've been very responsive to us. And as also as mentioned in the report from the commission, they will personalize a website section for the city. And it makes it easier for anyone that's interested to basically log on, provide the information for the brick. It gets sent to the city for check, and then it's all taken care of by them. So their cost is competitive, I can assure you of that. And they seem to be one of the better ones to work with as well.
Fair enough. I think it makes sense for us to notify the consumer that wants to purchase a brick. This is our cost, and you're paying the nominal upcharge of 15% to get your name on this brick, and it's going to the city. So something like that would be good.
All right.
Anyway, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Rose? 25. All right. A margin of 25%. Okay. Colleen, you good on that? Okay. We'll try this one with a voice vote. All in favor of moving forward with our brick program at a margin of 25%, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Ms. McCutcheon and Ms. Edens, was there anybody else I missed? All right. Any abstentions? Okay, with that, the motion passes. That brings us to the City Attorney and Department of Planning Development Agreement for Taylor Road Extension, Fisher and Frickel.
Thank you again, Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council, this past Monday on May 5th, the Planning and Zoning Commission gave final approval to the site development plan package for the Point at Brightleaf. Point at Brightleaf will be located on the northeast corner of State Route 100 and State Route 109. It is an 8+ acre site that will accommodate 30 lots with 30 individual single-family dwellings. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed the components and ultimately agreed they complied with the site-specific ordinance, the zoning ordinance, the subdivision and development regulations, and then finally the design criteria manual. One of the components that is contained in that site-specific ordinance was a provision that allowed Fisher Frickel to receive a full traffic generation assessment fee credit if they were to do off-site improvements on Taylor Road Extension from the northernmost portion of the frontage of their site to State Route 109. If you're familiar with that section of Taylor Road Extension, it's more of a rural roadway on the west side and does have some improvements on the east side relative to Sandalwood Creek and Hickory Manor subdivisions. The developer, in this case Fisher Frickel, asked that a development agreement or a cooperation agreement be formulated. Mr. Doster, the attorney for Fisher Frickel, and John Young, our city attorney, worked together to create the document that is attached. It ensures that the responsibilities of both parties are defined and memorialized as part of the agreement. The department believes this is appropriate and supported this agreement in its general form at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and when the zoning and the overlay district were approved by City Council. The rationale again is public safety, improving the road so it is a full, safe 2 lanes in width, and adding pedestrian facilities as well. Therefore, tonight, the department is respectfully requesting authorization to prepare legislation to present the development agreement to City Council at its next meeting. Thank you. And if Mr. Young would like to add anything regarding this, certainly.
I have nothing to add other than this is just a follow-up, something that was previously approved and considered in the site-specific ordinance for this development.
All right, Ms. McCutcheon. Excellent. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mr. Marshall. Any questions or concerns? Nope. All right. All those in favor of moving forward, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we'll see that again here shortly. Next up, without objection, I'd like to move our receipt and file up in front of our executive session so we can just get that out of the way. If anybody has any questions or concerns or comments on any of those items, Mr. Vunich, I don't know if you want to present anything specific.
I can do this very quickly, sir.
Very.
Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council, the first item relates to an approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission of an outdoor game court that will consist of a basketball hoop and pickleball courts. The Planning and Zoning Commission did take into account the noise that's associated with pickleball and required several steps to ensure that the noise is minimized and nuisance is eliminated. The next item relates to West County Community Church, now known as Fellowship of Wildwood. Fellowship of Wildwood is expanding their lobby entry area, and as part of that expansion, adding an elevator at the rear of the sanctuary or church building. The Planning and Zoning Commission authorized this particular change. The next item relates to Highway 100 improvements. As you know, the J turns and left turn lanes, we're catching the paperwork up with the project's progress. And then finally, as I mentioned early, as part of the for action, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the site development plan package for the point at Brightleaf. That package included the site development plan, the landscape plan, the public space plan, and a number of items relating to traffic analysis, geotechnical reports, and et cetera. Again, we're very excited about this particular project, because not only are we addressing additional housing in town center, but we are getting a commensurate level of improvements on our infrastructure as well. If there are any questions on the 4 items, the department would be glad to try to answer them at this time, or Mr. Young or Mr. Newberry.
All right. Any questions on our receipt and files? Oh, yes, ma'am. Sure.
I want to thank the developer for working with both myself and Ed and Joe during the planning of this project. I think by doing that, we came out with a really good project that the residents are going to be happy, and the new residents will be happy with it as well. So thank you for sitting down with us.
Couldn't agree more. We'll consider these items received and filed.
Thank you.
With that, that'll take us to our closed executive session. We're going to do this under RSMO 610.021, subsection 1, subsection 2, subsection 3, and subsection 13. If anybody cares to make a motion to move to closed session, made by Mr. Marshall, seconded by Mr. Ottenberg. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we're going to move to the other room here, folks in the room with us. We'll be back here in a little bit, so just hang tight.
Doesn't that require a roll call?
Yeah, hang on, everybody. We got to do a roll call. Sorry about that. My bad.
Yep.
All right. Colleen, roll call going into executive session, please.
Councilmember Brost,
Yes.
Councilmember Edens,
Yes.
Councilmember Ottenberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dodwell, Councilmember Marshall, Councilmember Hopper,
Yes.
Councilmember Preston.
Yes.
Councilmember Mabry.
Yes.
Councilmember Nian.
Yes.
Councilmember Farmer.
Yes.
Councilmember McCutcheon. Councilmember Rambo. Councilmember Crayons. Councilmember Albers.
All right, we'll be back here shortly. Somebody would like to make a motion, unless anybody has anything else they want to add. If somebody wants to make a motion to adjourn, made by Ms. Dodwell, seconded by Mr. Ottenberg. All those in favor of adjourning our work session, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that closes our work session. And as I can see, the room is starting to fill up a little bit here. That must bring us to our first session of the evening. So good evening, everybody. I'm calling to order the first session of the Wildwood City Council for May 12th, 2025. We're going to start with our roll call. Ms. Lobeck.
Mayor Garitano, Councilmember Brost.
Here.
Councilmember Edens.
Here.
Councilmember Ottenberg.
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell.
Here.
Councilmember Marshall.
President.
Councilmember Jaxi. Councilmember Hopper.
Here.
Councilmember Galani. Councilmember Preston.
Here.
Councilmember Mabry.
Here.
Councilmember Nyan.
Here.
Councilmember Farmer.
Here.
Councilmember McCutcheon.
Here.
Councilmember Rambo.
Here.
Councilmember Krantz.
Here.
Councilmember Albers.
Okay, with that, before we get any further, I'd actually like to propose a slight reordering of tonight's agenda. We have an interesting meeting tonight broken into a couple parts with some new people coming in, and I'm here. And so in order to get all that straightened out for everybody, I'd like to move the mayor's message and my welcome up before the pledges of allegiance, basically just kind of swapping those things with public comment, if that works okay for everybody. Anybody have any objections to that? All right, John, do we need an official motion? Okay, great. We will do that. With that, if everyone would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Give me 1 second here. First, I'd like to start off with a letter from Mayor Garitano. He says, "Dear Wildwood neighbors, I wanted to take a moment to let you know that I will not be able to attend tonight's city council meeting. My daughter is graduating from Lafayette High School this evening, and our family will be celebrating this special milestone with her. I hope you will understand how meaningful this is for us, and I appreciate your support. In my absence, our capable Mayor Pro Tem, that would be me, will be leading tonight's meeting, and I know it is in great hands. Tonight is a meaningful one for Wildwood. We are expressing our gratitude to several outgoing council members, Larry Brost, Lauren Edens, Rob Jaxi, and Nathan Hopper, who have served our city with dedication, thoughtfulness, and heart. Their contributions have made a lasting impact, and I am truly grateful for the time and energy they have given this community. We are welcoming 4 new council members, Vicky Rolboreski, Matt Trottier, Jason Backert, and James Vanek. They will be sworn in tonight and begin their service to our city. Please join me in congratulating and supporting them as they step into these important roles. Serving on city council is no small task. It requires listening, patience, collaboration, and a genuine love for Wildwood. I am proud of how far we have come in building a respectful and effective local government, and I am confident that together we will keep this momentum going. Thank you, as always, for being such an engaged and caring part of what makes Wildwood so special. Sincerely, Joe Garitano, Mayor of Wildwood." That brings us to my little piece of the conversation here. So, as Mayor Garitano mentioned, my name is Joe Farmer. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a representative for Ward 4. I also have served this year as the Mayor Pro Tem. It has been a lot of fun to do that, and I greatly appreciate it. I also wanted to extend my congratulations, as I'm sure the rest of the council, to Mayor Garitano's daughter and the other students that will be graduating here from the various high schools. It's a big deal. I also wanted to thank Mayor Garitano specifically, not just for his leadership, but for the trust and the openness that he's kind of created in this first year of his term. It's really been a very collaborative space. He has been a great mayor. We've had a long line of really good mayors, but Joe really has his heart in the right place. I also wanted to thank him for being such a tireless communicator to our community. We've had a lot of really strange weather events that have happened this year, whether it's the winter storms or a tornado or whatever. And any item, big or small, he is there and dedicated to getting that word out to our citizens, and that's really great. I also wanted to thank our council members that are leaving. If my math is correct, and there are some people here that can help me if it isn't, but I believe that this is the end of the 29th City Council and then shortly the beginning of the 30th. And Councilmember Edens and Brost and Jaxie and Hopper have all played really important roles in what we're doing. They together, I think, consist of about 20 years of service to the city, which for a city that's 30 years old is a pretty good chunk of it. Commander Jaxie's not with us this evening. He is also at graduation. He runs the ROTC at Lafayette. So he got to say his goodbyes last month, but you guys have done a great job and I really appreciate all the hard work that you've done. I also wanted to say that as a city, and this is for the incoming council people and the outgoing council people, we've really worked hard at doing things the right way. We've had a couple big items that we've dealt with, you know, our conversation last time about the developments in town center and things like that. And even when we don't agree and we all vote in different ways, we do it respectfully and we have good conversations with people, and we are all sincerely believe that we're on the same page and trying to do right by Wildwood. And for our outgoing council members that have advocated very strongly for their specific wards, which is what we all do, they've also worked really hard to put the city as a whole not in front of their wards, but, you know, understanding that it is more than just, you know, your friends and neighbors that are electing you. It's a city as a whole that we're working towards. And I think the last piece of that I'll say is when I look at how we function here, you know, a lot of politics is a local thing. The decisions that we make, they impact people immediately every day. And I'm hoping that some of our other counterparts in the government, whether it's in the county level or the state level or the federal level, can maybe start doing that stuff again. It's a lot harder to get things done when everybody is just trying to get headlines and stand on soapboxes and whatever. The stuff that we do is generally not that exciting most of the time. I think tonight we're going to adjust a couple property lines and some other things. They're important little things, but they're meaningful to the people in our community. So for those of you that are here, I really appreciate it. I can see a lot of you are here to support family members coming in to serve. I think as the outgoing council members can attest to, it's a pretty thankless gig. It's not always the most fun thing in the world, but it is important. So I appreciate all of you that are up here and all of you that are going and all of you that are coming. It'll be a lot of fun to work with you. And with that, I just have a little bit of housekeeping. As Mayor Pro Tem, I retain my vote as a council member, but I don't have any additional powers. So if there's a vote that ties, I don't break the tie. It just is declared dead. Tonight's meeting is a little bit different than other ones. We'll have a first session with our outgoing council finishing that business, and then a second session with our incoming council starting the new business. If I am renominated to be Mayor Pro Tem and reelected, I will continue adjudicating the meeting, I suppose. If somebody else gets that nod, then they'll move over in place to do it. But it'll basically just flow this way. We'll get through the agenda. We'll get it figured out. We've got some swearing in and some proclamations. It'll be a lot of fun. So I just wanted to thank you guys all again for your support this last year. I've really appreciated being Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm excited for Joe's daughter graduating. I know it's killing him not to be here to say goodbye to you guys and hello to the next group, but I assured him next month he will do just as good a job as normal with that. So with that, let's take it to public participation. I think that's next up on our agenda. So I'll open the floor up for public participation. If you'd like to speak this evening, please complete a speaker card. I know we've got a couple of them already, and give them to Colleen, our city clerk. If you could include your name, ward, or address and the topic you'd like to address, you'll get 5 minutes to speak. I'll keep a timer on you, but please try to keep it to 5 minutes. And any questions that you direct to the staff or the council, we can respond to after public comment or as a follow-up after the meeting if that's what is necessary. So Colleen, with that, who do we have speaking this evening?
Niall Stevens. He is going to comment about an invitation.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Niall Stevens, Ward 8. I came with an invitation and also to offer some assistance to either the outgoing or incoming council members. I am currently an elected official within the Republican Party for Wild Horse Township, which Wildwood is part of that, and also a community engagement director for Mo Tax Relief Now. And so in those roles, I do a lot of networking with the Republican Party and all throughout the state and also at the federal level. I was poking around on the website. One of the strategic goals for the council is to create a networking group to facilitate meetings with state, local, and federal government officials. And so I just wanted to offer my assistance in that regard. If you ever need anything from the Republican Party, I'd be glad to leave my cards here. Please reach out. I'd be glad to facilitate meetings here at Wildwood City Hall. And also, as far as the invitation goes, our next meeting, if anybody here in the audience or on council would like to come to us, we are doing a regional legislative wrap-up on June 5th at the Des Peres Lodge. And so we're going to have our own state senator, David Gregory, will be there. We're going to have Adam Schnelting, state senator from St. Charles, State Senator Ben Brown from Franklin County. We're going to have the host of This Week in Missouri Politics, Scott Fawn, will be joining us to give us kind of an insider update from the governor's office. And it's going to be a great meeting, going to be a great evening. We'll talk about everything that got done in 2025 in the legislative session, and also what didn't get done and we might be working on for 2026. And so that's really it. That's all my comments. So if anybody would like to join us on that meeting, again, that's June 5th at Des Peres Lodge at 6 p.m. So thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks.
Who is next?
Ron Petruska wants to speak about Ashley Grove.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and council members. My name's Ron Petruska. My wife Lynn and I live in the Fallstone Mill subdivision, and our lot is one of the 4 lots that border the southern boundary of the proposed Ashley Grove subdivision. I spoke at the April council meeting expressing the residents' 2 main concerns about the proposal. That's all been documented. I don't want to waste anybody's time going through that again. However, there is one item that I would like to highlight before this is discussed by you all. I also expressed at that meeting that the then Mayor Bolin pledged to the residents that the requirements architecturally and lot size, house size, et cetera, of the proposed Ashley Grove would be in line with what was required of the Old Town Park and the Fallstone Mill subdivisions, which are the 2 subdivisions that boundary the eastern and southern borders of Ashley Grove. It's interesting to note too that the Old Town Park subdivision on Center Avenue is actually closer to this town center than what the Ashley Grove subdivision is, unlike Fallstone Mill, which is actually south of the Ashley Grove subdivision. Virtually all the residents would prefer that the same requirements be met for Ashley Grove that were required of Fallstone Mill and Old Town Park. This includes the inclusion of side entry garages. All the homes that are in the subdivisions adjacent to this do, in fact, the new homes have side entry garages. That was a requirement that was made by the city of Wildwood to the builder. And I guess our question is, why is the requirement not there for Ashley Grove, whereas the current proposal is showing 3 of the 11 new homes have, I'll call them partial side entry garages and a partial front entry garage. We just don't quite understand the logic as to why the same requirements wouldn't be imposed on this subdivision that were imposed on the 2 adjacent subdivisions. This requirement could be accomplished pretty easily by having 9 new homes in the proposed subdivision, as opposed to the proposed 11 plus the existing home. The second thing that we were concerned about, I expressed last month, was the cul-de-sac. That is what we have in Fallstone Mill. And I believe that is being addressed and will be discussed by you guys next during your internal discussions here. I saw a sketch of what's being proposed, and it looks a lot better than some kind of gate that would be at the end of the east end of road accessing the subdivision. Pretty much that's it. I just wanted to express to you guys what virtually all of the residents and how they feel, and thanking you in advance for your consideration of our concern.
Thank you. Up next,
Robert Mabry.
Thank you, Council, Mayor Pro Tem, and those attending and the staff. I stand tonight for Council Member Lauren Edens. Ms. Edens had been my just about everything during the time it took for me to run unopposed for the seat of council member a year ago. So now that halfway through my 2-year term, I've got about everything to owe to her in her patience, professionalism, just generosity with time and meeting and effort. This is going to be real short because I'm not going to tell anybody anything they don't already know. It's just really a privilege to be able to stand in support of her efforts. And I would say good luck with future endeavors, but I already know you're not going to need to rely one damn bit on that. So that's more than enough to say. Thank you. I've embarrassed myself that I couldn't have come out any better had I any other assistance getting on board online. It dragged me through my heels to the 21st century with social media and postcards, and mailers and flyers and voter logs and all that goes with it. So thank you, Ms. Edens.
Thank you, Mr. Mabry. Colleen, do we have anybody else?
No, that's it.
All right, and Travis, there's nobody online, right? Okay, with that, we will close public participation, and that brings us to the proclamation. So I will come down there. We've got a young man here this evening, Joshua Hooper. If you'll come on up front here, I'll meet you down there in a minute. For those of you that don't know, Joshua is a pretty incredible golfer for a old soul, I would say. And he gets this proclamation. I haven't read it yet, so perhaps it'll describe in detail what we have, but it's a pretty cool thing. Anybody that golfs in here would be certainly very, very jealous of this young man. Hang on right there. I'll be right there. All right. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm gonna do my best to read this proclamation. They're a little weird, Joshua, but it's pretty cool. I think you're gonna hopefully like it. And get everybody situated. All right. Whereas Joshua Hooper is 9 years old and lives in Wildwood with his parents Laura and Josh and his sister Emily, whereas he is in the 3rd grade at Babbler Elementary School in the Rockwood School District, where his favorite subject is math. Whereas Joshua loves sports, he plays soccer for Rockwood United, basketball for Parkway Rockwood, and is a member of the running club at Babbler Elementary. Whereas his love of golf started by hitting golf balls in the backyard with his dad when he could barely walk, and at the age of 6, he began working with a coach. Whereas Joshua has competed in the Junior PGA and U.S. Kids Golf in tournaments at both local and regional events. Whereas he has qualified 3 years in a row for the U.S. Kids World Golf Championships in Pinehurst, North Carolina, and last year placed 37th out of 104 competitors. Whereas this year, Joshua competed in the 11th drive chip putt competition at the Augusta National Golf Club. This was the 3rd time he has qualified for this national event. Whereas competing against other regional champions in the boys 7 to 9 year age group, Joshua placed 1st at the event in April, making him a national champion. Now, therefore, this is from Mayor Garetano, not me, but I'll pretend it's also from me. Therefore, I, Joseph Garetano, Mayor of the City of Wildwood, on behalf of the City of Wildwood, on this, the 12th day of May, 2025, do hereby congratulate Joshua Hooper for his outstanding achievement and applaud his parents for providing him the support and encouragement necessary for him to pursue his love. All right. You want me to get in? Okay, we'll do a picture real quick. What's there?
I'd like to ask that this is the first time his autograph on an agenda for tonight for the city to keep.
I have it all marked up. That's all I got. Maybe the next Tiger Woods. Got it. Oh, let's put this in there. We'll be in the time capsule.
All right, let's give this man one more round of applause. Okay. With that, that should bring us to unfinished business. Let's see. We've got a couple items this evening. I know, Mr. Vunich, you've wanted to postpone one of them, I guess.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, with your permission and concurrence of City Council, I would like to postpone Bill 2973.
All right, do we need to vote on that? Okay, we need a motion to postpone Bill 2973, which is approving some lot adjustments. I think we just need a little bit of extra work on that one.
The boundary adjustment involves two properties that border the Merrimack River. And the department, per our access and mobility plan, have asked for a trail easement to extend Al Foster Trail south to the city of Eureka. And there seems to be some confusion about what that all entails. And we
Okay.
have not been able to talk since the last meeting, and I don't want to proceed without some kind of direction from the property owners.
So do you want just a month or?
Yes.
Okay, would anybody care to make a motion to postpone this next month? Mr. Marshall, seconded by Mr. Ottenberg. Can you do a voice vote? All right. All those in favor of postponing this item until next month, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so Bill 2973 is going to move to next month. That brings us to Bill 2976, which looks to be a conversation on Ashley Grove. I know we were talking a little bit of this stuff here in the work session. So Mr. Vunich, if you would like to proceed, or. Oh yeah, I guess we can read that.
Bill
Motion
20,
for- Well, I guess we need a motion. Do we need a motion for a second reading?
That's correct, sir.
All right, motion for a second reading. Anybody care to make that? Made by Mr. Brost, seconded by Mr. Albers. All those in favor? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Elaine, after you.
Bill 2976, an ordinance by the City Council regarding PZ 28-21 Ashley Grove, Cypress Real Estate LLC in care of Daniel Stegman, which thereby authorizes the reapproval of the Planned Residential Overlay District, PRD, in conjunction with the existing R3 10,000 square foot residence district designation of the subject property, with said 5-acre sites being located on the west side of Center Avenue, south of its intersection with Manchester Road, hereby approving a total of 11 new single-family dwellings along with the retention of the existing residents, and such being consistent with the letter of recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated March 3rd, 2025. Second reading.
All right, Mr. Vunich.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of City Council, this particular item is up for second reading and final passage tonight. As was mentioned during public participation, when the bill was introduced at the April meeting of City Council, there was a lengthy discussion relative to the proposed controlled access from the new internal street to Center Avenue. Originally, the plan that was submitted at public hearing in 2021 showed a through street. Input from neighboring residents opposed that through street, and ultimately an alternative was proposed. That alternative was a T turnaround. T turnarounds can be functional, but they also bring a long list of potential problems as well. Prior to the introduction of the bill, there was a determination a gate might be an alternative that would be satisfactory, a gate that would be maintained by the new homeowners association and would control access except for emergency vehicles. At that meeting I referenced in April, there was less than a desirable response from City Council about the gate and concerns about what that might set as a precedent. So from the perspective of the department, it asked Mike Faulkner of Sterling Engineering to offer a alternative. And that alternative is the amended bill that is also been provided to you for consideration tonight. The alternative is a more traditional cul-de-sac that would accommodate the turning movements of vehicles, but also a easement that would go from the eastern edge of the cul-de-sac to Center Avenue. That easement would be for emergency purposes only and would be controlled access via bollards. So in many regards, this is kind of splitting the baby, so to speak. We get the turnaround capabilities that we desire, but we also ensure that there is a secondary emergency access. In terms of the side entry garages, I do want to address the gentleman's comment. The side entry garages were a component of the T turnaround. The department fully hopes that when we decide on an approach for this access at the eastern end of the new street, we can move toward side entry garages as all others in the area are. So tonight it is for second reading. There is an amended bill that, for the most part, addresses this versus a gate. And so that is also for consideration as well. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Marshall.
Considering that we discussed this evening, the moving forward of the regulations on the gates and any closures like that, I'd like to postpone this until we get that legislation done and then bring it back and look at what that would look like. We talked about evaluating any type of connector. Maybe we could evaluate this based on this amended plan and do some points to that before they get into the full development of it.
Okay. So we got a motion for postpone, Mr. Albers?
Can I make a comment before we move that way?
Well, we need a second.
No, I don't second.
Okay.
I will second it to discuss.
All right. Seconded by Mr. Krantz. All right, Mr. Albers, you're up.
So this amendment has bollards in it, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So, and then another question. The town center allows the lots to be 10,000 square feet, correct?
Yes, for this particular designation.
Okay. I want to thank you for putting the cul-de-sac back in. I think it looks good. The gate's gone, and I might have to wait on this motion, but my motion was going to be to remove the bollards and kind of be done with this. I don't think we need any access to Center Avenue. Like I said previously, Center Avenue, as I said previously, isn't much of a road. It's narrow, no lights, no sidewalks. So I don't know where that stands with making a motion after Councilman Marshall has made a motion, but those were my intentions.
Well, I mean, I suppose you could amend the motion to remove the ballards. I might suggest that might take a little bit of looking at before we just do that. I think at the end, my suggestion would be, I think at the end of the day, probably what you're suggesting is more than likely what would happen, but it's just a matter of putting the stuff in order, I think. Ms. Dodwell.
My question is, does it have to be a through street at all?
Certainly not. The city council has complete purview over how streets are terminated?
Because this is a
extended?
very short distance between Center Avenue and the street to the west.
Which is
So-
West Avenue.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you had the name perfect.
So you put something similar to what we've done over in Brightleaf, where it's treed and it's a dead end street. It's not a through street.
Well, the intent here, Ms. Dodwell, is not to have a through street. I can assure you of that. And the intent was to do very much like we did. Your analogy is very good. Birch Forest Drive, when it was developed under St. Louis County, there was a temporary cul-de-sac at the end. The temporary cul-de-sac was there for 30 years till city council changed it. So in this instance, we would have a cul-de-sac with restricted access to emergency vehicles only.
Because the ballards that would go up there, I'm assuming would be ones that the fire truck could drive over and knock down.
Certainly, the intent would be not to propose anything that the fire marshal would not accept, because we've struggled with that on occasion, and we don't want to do that again.
We've dealt with those kinds of ballards at Turnberry, and people still go through them. They knock it down, and that whole intersection looks terrible. And so we need to come back with, I think, an alternative solution that just closes the road off. That's my proposal.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on the motion to postpone this next month so we can probably have a little bit more of that kind of a conversation? Okay. Colleen, you good? Okay. All those in favor of postponing this till next month, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Opposed by Ms. McCutcheon and Mr. Albers. Any abstentions? Okay, we will have this conversation again. Excellent. That brings us to Bill 2977. Is this you again, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we need a motion to read Bill 2977. Made by Ms. Dodwell, seconded by Mr. Mabry. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, Colleen, after you.
Bill 2977, an ordinance of the city of Wildwood, Missouri that authorizes the reversion of an amended C8 commercial district to the NU non-urban residence district for a series of properties forming a 4.08 acre site that is situated on south side of Manchester Road, west of Taylor Road, street addresses 16830, 16832, 16832A, and 16840 Manchester Road, St. Louis County, locator numbers 24V630352, 24V630011, 24V610068, and 2V520202. Given this zoning action is required due to the site development plan SDP for the proposed project authorized by it not being submitted within the allotted 24-month period of time, with such being consistent with the Planning and Zoning Commission's letter of recommendation dated March 3rd, 2025.
All right, Mr. Vunich.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council, if you have driven on Manchester Road anytime in the last couple of days, you'll notice the new community church has relocated from its site and took the sign with them. With the relocation of new community church, the zonings that were associated with this 4+ acre site relative to additional parking and recreational facilities is no longer necessary. And besides that, the timeframes that are set forth in the CA Plan Commercial District and the conditional use permit were exceeded. Therefore, under the zoning ordinance, the city is required to revert back to original zoning, which in this case is the NU non-urban district, and we kind of start all over. If there are any questions regarding this particular bill, the department would be glad to try and answer them at this time. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or care to make a motion to proceed, I suppose?
We've had the second reading.
Oh.
It's just now a roll call.
All right. Anybody have any discussion before our vote? No?
Thank you.
All right.
Councilmember Ottenberg. Councilmember Dodwell.
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall.
Yes.
Councilmember Hopper.
Yes.
Councilmember Preston.
Yes.
Councilmember Mabry.
Yes.
Councilmember Nyan.
Yes.
Councilmember Farmer.
Yes.
Councilmember McCutcheon.
Yes.
Councilmember Rambo.
Yes.
Councilmember Crayons. Councilmember Albers. Councilmember Brost. Councilmember Edens.
Yes.
All right. With that, the bill passes. So I guess we'll see what the new owners might have to say about that. With that, that brings us to our resolutions, which are all appear this evening on the consent agenda, along with the approval of expenditures, the minutes from the work session and our meeting the last time. There are no more mayor appointments this time around. Does anybody have anything that they want to talk about or concern about on the consent agenda, or are we good to proceed? I figured this evening, since there are many resolutions, including one for our friend Colleen down here, we would spare her reading all of them for us, and we can just say that we like them. Does that sound good to everybody? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I need to say some things about 2025-11.
Okay.
Now,
do you want to take it off the consent agenda?
yes.
Okay. So we're going to pull 2025-11 off the consent agenda, and the rest of them we can proceed with. So we can do the consent agenda and then that one. Okay. One of the resolutions for the audience that may not have it in front of you that we will be voting on here is the appointment of Colleen Lobeck to be our new city clerk. She will be taking over that role, and we're very excited to have her. So do we need a voice vote or roll call? All right, so we'll do a roll call vote on the consent agenda. All those in favor of our minutes, expenditures, and the resolutions minus number 11, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that backs out 25-11. Mr. Rambo, what do you got?
Yeah, the Emerald Ash Borer has been coming on this entire century, and we finally realized that we had to get serious about it a few years ago. And in 2020, we contracted with Davey Tree Service to do emmenectin injection into the ash trees that were still relatively healthy, to keep them from declining while we caught up with the tree removals that were required, because ash trees, just as an aside, have a very particular failure mode that is deadly. They snap off as though you chainsawed them. They don't split and kind of keel over or whatever. And so and a lot of these are street trees, and so it was dangerous. Council insisted on a 5-year plan to be done with this treatment, because this emmenectin is deadly. It targets Lepidoptera, all of the butterflies, and they're declining anyway, and pollinators in general. It causes, if it gets into the soil, which it often does with treated trees, if they grind them up and mulch them, it causes everything from gastric distress to death in humans, particularly children. It's a horrible thing to do. This was seen as the least worst option, but we were going to accelerate trying to get it all done within 5 years. It's now 2025. This is 5 years. We have more ash trees that require removal than we did back then. And we have quite a number of trees that we're talking about treating. I want to end this program as quickly as possible. And so what I'd like to do is document that supposed 5-year plan and actually have some teeth in it and some method for tracking the progress. But I'd also like to put this information out to the residents, maybe on the website or something like that, that says, that tells them this is the least worst option, because there are environmentalists out there. And we can also say the reason we're removing those trees is because they are, once you get a dead limb on an ash tree, it's going to succumb to emerald ash borer. There's really no option. And so people need to know that it's not the city maliciously removing these trees, but they're going to fail, and they're going to fail hard. And the cost is quite high. It costs a couple grand to remove a grand tree, and it's cheaper to do this treatment, but there's an environmental cost that we have to factor in. And so I would request, I'm not sure how to put this in terms of a motion, but if we approve this program this year, I would like to see a documented plan next year for here's how we're going to phase them out, and here's our drop dead date for having them all, having all the ash trees under control, and some presence on the website that tells people here are all the concerns with the ash trees. Is that reasonable to ask
Yeah,
for? I guess it's a question for Rick.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest, and I don't know, John, if you want to hop in here, but I would think, because this is, I guess, the 5th of the 5 years, I
Yes.
think, we would complete that program and then have maybe Mike, our arborist, kind of go back through the data a little bit about what we've done and tell us, starting, I guess, since we're doing the budget stuff in the fall anyways, like that's the conversation we can have in terms of here's, we're not going to treat these trees anymore. They're going to die or whatever. And here's how we're going to mitigate that risk. I mean, I don't disagree. I have seen that this stuff has worked pretty well on my street, but I also know it's like really bad stuff. So
I can't overemphasize. I mean, it's not me just crying wolf. It's really, really hard on pollinators. And interestingly, you guys may recall some of this, but Davey Tree Service said, "Oh no, this particular formulation is much less noxious to insects, bees, butterflies, other pollinators, so on and so forth." And so I went out. Davey is a national organization, so I went out, and the first science that I found was by a Davey Tree Service scientist, academic publication that said, no, this stuff gets in the leaves, pollinators eat it. There's up to 25% ash pollen in bee colonies, and they all die. And so it's really bad stuff, and it's bad for children. It's bad for everything. And so we need to finish it, even if it costs us some extra money to accelerate the program. So
all right,
that's me. That's me on my soapbox. But I think
Mr. Ehlers. I mean, it shows that the number of trees that we're treating is less, which I guess technically is what we're going for, but it doesn't take into account, as Councilmember Rambo is saying, that, the ones that we are no longer treating, theoretically, that means that they are dead and have been removed, and who knows.
Well, there's a lot of moving parts, I would say, and I've spoken to Mike about this specific issue several times, and it's tough. I mean, he's caught between 6 rocks and 3 hard places, trying to get this program managed with all his other duties. And I just think having a plan would provide a whole lot more information for council.
All right. Well, Ms. Dodwell.
I'd make a motion that we postpone this particular item until we have more information. I'm concerned for the same reasons that Mr. Rambo is concerned. And I guess my question is, we're all seeing the ash trees die even after they're treated within a year or two. Could we not reassess this plan and say, okay, Omni Tree Service, cut down the trees. Let's not put concerning chemicals on them. That's just.
Can I address that? Sure. Ms. Dodwell is correct, except that it costs $500 to treat a tree and $3,000 to take one down, and it's really hard to find those funds. And I'm sympathetic to that, to the plight. But the more practical issue is that treatment in May is when it's most effective, and it takes twice as much chemical to be 1/3 or 1/4 as effective if you wait until June. And so we really don't have the time to wait. If we're going to do it, we've already killed a whole lot of bugs in the last 5 years. We might as well, there might still be a few butterflies fluttering around in a couple of years.
So I'm going to make this suggestion, because so my recommendation, and you guys can take this or leave it, is we should pass this program as it is, as our 5th year, because Mr. Rambo is right. This is the right time to do it. But then I might also suggest that we propose that the current treatment program after this year more or less comes to an end, and we're going to direct the staff to come up with an assessment of the remaining treated ash trees across our public property. Based on that assessment, they're going to return to the council a proposed plan and timetable for non-treatment based removal and management of those trees moving forward.
We have to impose criteria on Mike because there's a public safety concern, there's the cost concern, there's all those other concerns.
Well,
And,
we can do that at Admin and Public Works next month.
and I will come.
Okay.
I would take that motion
Okay.
as spoken.
Mr. Krantz.
Councilman Rambo scares me. Now,
I get that a lot.
yeah, but it sounds like you know what you're talking about. If this is as dangerous as he's saying, I think we should end it right away because we are now being put on notice that this is dangerous and really dangerous. And so I would not even support it for another year. And I would want to know what the alternative would be.
It's letting them die.
Are you either planting new trees, different
So,
trees?
I would suggest this. I don't disagree. I don't think anybody up here
Yeah.
people are excited about. I mean, I think we've likened this to treating, it's like chemo for trees. It's just not good. I mean, it does a good thing, but it's not good. And so the problem with this, as Councilmember Rainbow said, is if these trees start to go, they become a real public safety issue. So I again, this is just me saying, I would suggest we go with this because we've done it. It's not something we enjoy doing. And then that gives our staff team a time to get this figured out very quickly for budget time. So we know we're taking down 60 trees or whatever the number is going to be. And we work our way forward from there. That would be my suggestion, but I'm just facilitating this evening. I don't want to do that.
Regarding the failure mode of ash trees, I've lost a couple hundred in my woods, including a couple of dozen grand trees. It just breaks your heart when you walk through, but they shear off like no other tree. And it's just like you chopped them off with a chainsaw and they fall over. And so, and there's no predicting that. And so it's a public safety thing. And that's the only reason to justify this.
What would our city attorney advise?
I have no objection to the Mayor Pro Tem's proposed resolution of this matter.
Move forward.
All right. Anybody have anything else they want to add or care to make a motion similar to the one I might have suggested? Yes, sir.
Can anything be done? Thank you. To modify, just to lessen the blow, anything in terms of reducing the danger or reducing the cost or recapitulating the current agreement that we're expected by the contractor to just sign again. Anything that we can do that they may not recommend.
Go ahead.
I would say doing it in May would be is the best thing you can do. So you don't have to use as much of the chemical, but that said, it is an expense that if we were going to go a different direction, the best way to do it is remove it. And then that's much more expensive than doing the treatment.
What are we going to come up with in a year or before next May that beats continuing this program as bad as it is, a 6th year and a 7th year?
So the city arborist right now, as we're doing our fall tree plantings in spring, and our director of public works could speak on this as well, but he's actually out there now looking at these ash trees to see and not only checking the ones that are scheduled to be treated, but the ones that have already been treated to see if they are actually benefiting from it. Most of them have. That said, the plan would be to slowly replace them. And that's what's been happening over the last couple of years with our fall and spring plantings. We've been replacing ash trees.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Okay. Anybody?
I have a question for I'm sorry, I'm beating this to death, but
Sure.
it's important. Mr. Young, I know if you shovel your walk and somebody falls and breaks their leg, you're in more trouble than if you had left it unshoveled because of you made it more attractive and you made them assume that it was safe. Does the same sort of thing apply for the city in terms of liability for a tree that falls over? Are we better just leaving these things die than we are treating them? Because we treat them, they're still going to die. A limb falls over, and maybe it's too big a question for this forum, but is there some additional rationale for not treating them in that respect?
Not necessarily. No.
Okay. You can say it's a stupid question. I'm aware.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Did we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I didn't hear it. Is-
So we
Not
did,
this-
yeah,
not
we
this
did
one.
approve the consent agenda.
But who made the motions? I didn't catch that.
Katie
You
made
did,
the,
Katie?
yeah,
Okay.
Katie made it, and I think, Scott, did you second it? Or was it Chris? Oh, I think it was maybe Chris. I think it was Chris.
Okay.
We'll check the tape.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So for the tree, ash tree program, we have to decide whether we want to move forward as is, move forward with the caveat of not moving forward after this, or not moving forward at all. Who would like to? Yes, sir.
I'd make a motion that we move forward with the resolution under 2025-11 this year, May, and at the same time have the city staff prepare what's our plan after this number of trees are treated for next year's budget.
Okay, so we've got a motion. Anybody care to second that?
I would add the public information component as well to that.
Will that, okay. Anybody care a second? Ms. Diane will second it. So the motion is going to be to proceed this May with the treatment as is, and then to formally close its current treatment program for ash trees and direct staff to develop an assessment of remaining treated ash trees across public property. Based on that assessment, staff shall return to the council with a proposed plan and timetable for the non-treatment based removal and management of those trees moving forward. Everybody good with that? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Mr. Krantz opposed? Any abstention? Okay, that one passes. And that brings us to our miscellaneous section. And I just thought I would, obviously, anybody can ask whatever they like at the miscellaneous section, but I also thought I would open the floor for any council members that might be leaving us if they'd like to have a little, farewell message or something like that. Now would be the time. Ms. Edens.
I will be brief. George Washington Carver said, "No individual has any right to come into this world and go out of it without leaving behind him distinct and legitimate reasons for having passed through it." Public service is an honor, and it has been my privilege to serve the residents of Ward 2 for the last 6 years. We are all called to be a part of the solution to the problems facing our community and to work towards rebuilding faith and trust in public institutions. We simply cannot sit on the bench, always expecting others to do the work of service and governance for us. Rather, we must stay informed and active in our fate and the fate of others. I have tried to live by the words of John Wesley and challenge everyone to do the same. He said, "Do all the good you can by all the means you can in all the ways you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, so long as you ever can." To my colleagues and the voters of Ward 2, thank you for the opportunity to serve our community. To Bob and to Matt, my replacement, good luck, carry on, and don't give up the ship.
Mr. Bros, did I see your hand up?
Yes. No, I guess I don't have any here, no. Warren. I would just like to say it's really been an honor. It's been 6 years. I could go through a number of good events. I'm a firm believer in that as a group or as an individual, we can always do better. And I torture myself with that. But with that said, the one parting comment I really want to make is that as I look back, I would say I am just amazed at the work ethic of our city. I don't know how you do it. I mean, all the meetings, they would try to keep up. So I just really want to thank all the Because I know from being here for 6 years that it's not an easy. And I really want to say thank you. And keep up the good work because we all appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Hopper, no pressure.
Ditto. What else folks said, basically. It's been a pleasure to serve with everyone here at this table. So I'm sad to leave, but look forward to what you guys will be able to accomplish.
All right. Does anybody have any other miscellaneous items that they would like to bring up? If not, we are going to ask for our new council members to come forward and we're going to do our swearing in ceremony. And then after that, we're going to take a very quick break while we do some reconfiguring of the room here. So for those of you folks that have just joined us on the council, if you'll come on forward, Colleen is going to have you read your oath.
All of the people.
Oh, all of us.
Yes.
All of the people. Sorry. Everybody that was just reelected or elected the first time. There we go.
Or you want to?
Yeah, everybody come on up here in front to the dais. Katie and Ed, you guys have done this a few times. You know the drill.
Okay, repeat after me. I. Being first duly sworn by my oath, state that I possess all the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of council member of the city of Wildwood, St. Louis County, state of Missouri, that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Missouri, the provisions of the charter of the city, and all applicable laws of the state, and the ordinances and laws of the city of Wildwood, St. Louis County, state of Missouri, and faithfully demean myself of the office of council member for the city of Wildwood. Congratulations.
All right. Well, this is where it gets a little complicated. Those of you that are currently on this council, so those that haven't been sworn in, stay up here. We're going to adjourn this meeting, and then we'll have some coffee and cookies and soda next door, and we'll do some reconfiguration, and then we'll come back in here really quickly. So thank you again, everybody. Those of you that are leaving us, I greatly appreciate it. Those of you that are joining us, I appreciate that too. Once we get settled in, I need a motion to adjourn the first session made by Mr. Brost, seconded by Miss Edens. There we go. That's a non-debatable motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, everybody, give us a couple minutes. Let's say 10 minutes for coffee and cookies and things next door, and we will get All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here for our second session. Colleen, let's do the roll call.
Mayor Garitano, Councilmember Robluski,
Here.
Councilmember Trottier,
Here.
Councilmember Ottenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell,
Here.
Councilmember Marshall,
Present.
Councilmember Bockert,
Present.
Councilmember Vanek,
Here.
Councilmember Preston,
Here.
Councilmember Mabry,
Here.
Councilmember Nyan, Councilmember Farmer, Councilmember McCutcheon,
Here.
Councilmember Rambo,
Here.
Councilmember Krantz,
Here.
Councilmember Albers.
All right. If it's okay with everybody, nobody minds. I hope you don't. I'm going to propose we're going to just move over to the announcements since we did the pledge the last meeting. I think we all pledged our allegiance and that works great. With that, I just wanted to welcome all of our new members here. I know you guys and ladies are getting up to speed on some stuff. So just a couple little items. When it is your time to speak or to vote, just be sure to turn your microphone on. There's a little red light on the back that tells you if it's working. As a reminder, if that red light is on, it is working. So whatever you say when that is on, everybody's going to pick it up, including the internet. So just be aware of that. Also, for those of you that don't know, haven't done it yet, we do our meetings here with Robert's Rules. So there's a couple little things that you'll kind of pick up on. The main thing is you kind of get 2 bites at the apple if you're talking about something, and just try to keep whatever you're talking to germane to the item we're discussing. It's kind of easy to drift a little bit. And I know Mayor Garitano or myself or whoever might be back up here in a little bit might give a little bit of wiggle room on that, but let's try to keep it as tight as we can so that we can get everybody through here in a right amount of time. With that, I think we will go to public participation. And I see that we've got 1 speaker, or do we have 2, Travis? We have somebody online. Is that some public hearing? All right, 1 speaker.
Aaron Wagner, Bill 2984.
All right, Mr. Wagner, I don't know if you can kind of keep coming up. I don't know if you were in the room for the first time. Just try to keep it to 5 minutes. You should be good. Awesome. Thank you so much. That brings us to the mayor's appointments and council elections. Everybody, I believe, should have received an email with Mayor Garitano's various appointments to whatever committees we're serving on and the committee liaisons as such. I don't have anything to do with those. So if you don't like what you got, call Mayor Joe. But that brings us to the 2 items that we need to have elected here this evening. The first being the mayor pro tem. So if there is anyone that would like to nominate anybody or be okay, Mr. Krantz.
I will nominate Joe Farmer.
Okay. Second. Okay, seconded by Mr. Rambo. Anybody else care to be the mayor pro tem? Okay. Well, I assume if I'm the only nominee, do we technically have to vote? Okay. I think we can probably do this by a roll call vote, I guess, unless anybody wants to discuss this any further. No? Okay. Roll call vote for me to be the mayor pro tem. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone say nay? I will abstain because I feel bad voting for myself. That brings us to our city council liaison for the Planning and Zoning Commission. I believe at the moment we have 2 possible candidates, Mr. Mabry and Mr. Marshall. If there are any other folks that would like to be considered for nomination, that would be the time. If not, as we've got 2 people, we can have a little bit of a discussion and then we'll go through the vote. Anybody want to make an additional nomination?
Oh.
Nope. All right. Ms. Dodwell.
I just wanted to let everybody know I'm going to vote for Mr. Marshall. I think he brings with him a great deal of understanding of our zoning and our various city guidelines. And as having served on that committee prior and also having served as the mayor, I think at this conjuncture with individuals on that committee who are somewhat new at what they're doing, it would be wonderful to have some seasoned direction from a council member. Not that Mr. Brost wasn't a seasoned individual and didn't do a wonderful job. I want to make sure he doesn't take offense here, but I'm nominating Mr. Marshall.
Yes, sir. Oh, okay. Can we do that? But then do we still do the vote? Okay. We need, well, second, so the second would be Mr. Rambo, I suppose. All right, so for the motion, Katie, are you making the motion for Ed? Okay, you're gonna make the, and, all right, Mr. Mabry will second it. Then can we just vote on that? Okay, so then we will vote on Mr. Marshall as the Planning and Zoning Commission liaison. We'll do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, Mr. Marshall, P&Z is all yours. Mr. Mabry, thank you, sir. I appreciate your seconding and your application to do it. It's a big job and we need lots of help, but Mr. Marshall, we're excited to see what you can do. Okay. Further, although I don't think he sent the letter in, our attorney says he doesn't have to. Mayor Garitano is also going to continue to sit on P&Z as he has done in the past, so everybody knows that. We got our council stuff. Okay. That brings us to our public hearing. Mr. Vunich. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. 1 second. I guess we do need to vote. Do we vote? Because he appoints them. Okay. I guess we need a motion to go with Mayor Garitano's appointments to all the committees. Anybody care to make that? Made by Ms. Dadwell, second by Mr. Ottenberg. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, everybody knows where they're going. Excellent. Mr. Vunich, tell us all about Lucky Dog Central.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I could have Ms. Bobeck, our city clerk, read the advertisement into the record.
A request with recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding St. Louis County's PC 39-94, the Grover Company, amended C-8 Planned Commercial District, Town Center Workplace District, north side of Manchester Road, east of Etherton Road, address 16917 Manchester Road, locator number 24V540163, which seeks a modification to the existing site-specific governing ordinance to allow for certain modifications to the sign regulations as contained therein, including wall and arm and post types.
All right, Mr. Vunich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council, the Planning and Zoning Commission is presenting for your consideration tonight a recommendation to retain the existing arm and post sign at its current location on the property. The current location of the property is not consistent with the ordinance, but is, from a logical standpoint, the best location for it. So therefore, tonight, after public comment and any questions from City Council, the Department of Planning will respectfully request consideration of the bill for first reading tonight. Thank you.
All right, Travis, I believe we have someone online.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I believe the petitioner, yes, the petitioner just raised their hand.
Alrighty, just as a reminder, you've got 5 minutes and you may start whenever you're ready.
Hi, how are you guys?
Great.
All right, well, first off, I want to thank you for having me. Secondly, I'd like to thank you all for allowing us to operate a business within the beautiful city of Wildwood. And so I want to keep it brief, and I would just like to say that if you all would be so kind as to allow us to keep our sign where it is, just because it increases the amount of people that can see what we are, since we're so far back from the road, we would very much appreciate it, but I am available for any questions you all might have.
All right. I think I'm not seeing any questions, so Mr. Vunich.
Again, if there are no questions or comments to the department, Department would respectfully request a motion, second voice vote to close the public hearing. And then we can move on to new business.
Okay, does anybody care to make a motion to close the public hearing? Oh, you got a question? Cliff? Oh, all right, made by Mr. Albers, seconded by Mr. Krantz. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion carries. So Joe, you're gonna do legislation on this, or are we doing this tonight?
For the past couple of years, we prepared legislation for first reading on the same night of the public hearing when it's a favorable recommendation.
I'm just curious. Maybe I don't care if I break code protocol. I get to be in charge tonight. Would there be a reason not to do a second reading just so we can not delay this any further?
I would recommend a second reading since the sign is already in place and it doesn't cause any issues. And it's been supported by our experts, the Planning and Zoning Commission.
All right, I guess we will perhaps see that here momentarily. Okay, with the public hearing being closed, that brings us to new business. Bill number 2979. Do we have a motion to read that into the record? Made by Mr. Preston, seconded by Ms. Nyan. All those in favor of reading this, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, Ms. Lobeck, take it away.
Bill 2979, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, authorizing the purchase of one 2025 Chrysler Voyager van from the Dan Taylor Ellisville dealership for a cost not to exceed $41,000 to replace the Department of Planning and Parks 2005 Dodge Caravan.
All right, before you take over here, Joe, I have a little bird in my ear whispering that unless anyone is opposed, we could do all of our things for the first reading and then just get that right out of the way. So if anybody cares to make a motion to just run all of the first readings through, that would be great. All right, made by Mr. Rottenberg, seconded by Ms. Nyan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, Colleen, I hate to do it to you. Why don't you give us a read through of, looks like 29, 83, 84, 85, and 86. Sounds right.
Not 80?
80 through 86. My apologies.
About 2980. All of them? I'm sorry?
Yeah, because you just read 79. So you're going to do
80.
80.
Okay.
80 through 86.
I missed that.
Sorry about that.
Okay, that's all right. Bill 2980, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, authorizing the adjustment of 3 legal lots of record, being Lot A and B of 4715 Chateau Lane and 18815 Vixen Drive, boundary adjustment plat, as recorded in Plat Book 373, page 23, and Lot 204A of Fox Creek Valley, Plat Number 6, adjustment plat, as recorded in Plat Book 373, page 172, and tracts of land in sections 29 and 32, Township 44 North, Range 3 East, located on the east and west sides of Chateau Lane, north of Model Realty Road, and to be hereafter known as Chateau Square Boundary Adjustment Plat. First reading. Bill 2981, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, reauthorizing the consolidation of 2 legal lots of record, being lots 1 and 2 of the Boyle Holcomb lot split of adjusted Lot A, located within Section 35, Township 45 North, Range 3 East, situated at the intersection of Shepherd Road and Shepherd Ridge Road, and to be hereafter known as Boyle Holcomb Estate Lot Consolidation Plat. Bill 2982, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, authorizing the mayor of the City of Wildwood to submit on behalf of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, an application to the St. Louis County Office of Community Development for the reallocation of $15,000 of 2024 Community Development Block Grant Funds, GDBG, from senior services to accessibility improvements within the city's community park, and authorizing the mayor of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, to execute the Municipal Housing and Community Development Supplemental Cooperation Agreement. Bill 2983, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood that hereby authorizes the adjustment of certain common boundary lines between two legal lots of record, with such being under the same ownership, and will address the current placement of an existing structure within a building setback area, with both of these properties so described as in boundary adjustment plat of Lot 3 of Eagles Rest subdivision and new parcel A of boundary adjustment plat of 3 parcels in the north half of Section 21, Township 44 North, Range 3 East of the 5th Principal Meridian, City of Wildwood, St. Louis County, Missouri, to be hereafter known as Eagles Rest Subdivision Plat 2. Bill 2984, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood that hereby authorizes the consolidation of two legal lots of record being under the same ownership and more specifically being described as part of Lot 18 of the Curtois or Hamilton Creek Tract in U.S. Survey 3206, Township 44 North, Range 3 East of the 5th Principal Meridian, City of Wildwood, St. Louis County, Missouri, now hereafter to be known as Consolidated Plat Swallow. Bill 2985, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, revising the budget for the City of Wildwood, Missouri for the fiscal year commencing on January 1, 2024 and ending on December 31st, 2024. Bill 2986, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, authorizing the establishment of a low Earth orbit, LEO, satellite internet equipment rebate program for residents without access to broadband speeds greater than 100 megabytes per second download, 25 megabytes per second upload, and providing for a maximum rebate of $350 per household. Bill 2987, an ordinance of the City of An ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri that amends Section 4, Item K of C-8 Planned Commercial District Ordinance Number 2927 to allow for the existing post and arm sign that abuts the Manchester Road right-of-way area to remain as currently installed, with such being consistent with the Planning and Zoning Commission's letter of recommendation dated April 7th, 2025.
Excellent job. Thank you. Mr. Bunich, what you got for us?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of City Council, if there are any questions regarding the purchase of a new van, to replace our 19-year-old vehicle, the department would be glad to answer them. If there are any questions relating to Bill 2980, Chateau Square Boundary Adjustment Plat, the department would be glad to answer those. If there are any questions regarding the reauthorization of Boyle Holcomb Estate Lot Consolidation Plat, Bill 2981, then the department would be glad to answer them. Regarding Bill 2982, if there are any questions regarding the reallocation of $15,000 for accessibility improvements at Community Park, the department would be glad to answer those. If there are any questions regarding Bill 2983, the adjustment of a common boundary line to address an existing structure that is in, quite frankly, sitting on the property line as it exists today. Bart would be glad to answer those. And then finally, with 2984, Bill 2984, is there any questions regarding the consolidation plat on Old Road? The department would be glad to try to answer them. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Odenberg.
Just noticing here, bills 29, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, and let's see, 84 as well as 87 have either no budgetary impact or modest budgetary impact. Would it be appropriate to have a second reading for all of those bills I just mentioned tonight?
I think, yep, I think that it would, unless there's any other conversation or problems anybody has with it. I think that that would be very appropriate.
Then I would make that motion.
Seconded by Mr. Preston. All right, Mr. Mabry, what you got?
Councilman Ottenberg, that there remained only maybe 3, I didn't go through myself, 3 only remaining that had a monetary impact. So the relatively minor number. In the self-serving interest of seeing the low Earth orbiting satellite internet rebate program moving ahead as now quickly as possible after the years of delay. Could we ask that all bills that have been read first time can be passed, or is there some monetary scrutiny that we need to deal with some of them?
There are some contractual obligations with that we have to get ironed out. So they're asking to not do a second reading on the low Earth orbit one this evening. We got a few I's to dot and T's to cross for next month.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else, Mr. Rambo?
Yeah, just a real quick question about 2979. Joe, what are we going to do with that rusted out old hoopty of a van we got? Are we going to trade it or sell it or park it in a ditch somewhere, or what are we going to do with it?
Well, we were thinking about parking it on BB.
Valley Lane? Yeah, there you go. I got rid of several. That used to be a junkyard, by the way, but I got photos of it.
Actually, the small Colorado pickup truck that our market manager uses to deliver the equipment for the farmer's market actually has bitten the dust. We can't get it started. So we're going to keep the van for her.
Okay.
And she drives it on Saturday morning up to the market, unloads and reloads, drives it back to the garage.
As long as we don't have to look at it. We might want to peel the Wildwood sticker off. So no, it's embarrassing.
We'll take that under suggestion. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Okay, just a little, yeah, Mr. Albert. Yes, we've got 20, I think we've got 29, 79, 29, 80, 81, 84. There was one other one in there, right? And 87, the sign. So yes, he will get that. For those of our new council members, it's completely understandable if you are not feeling super comfortable voting for something that you haven't read all the details on. So you can vote. I'm not telling you how to vote either way, but you can certainly vote yes, no, or just abstain. That's okay. Whatever you want to do is what you should be doing. All right. So we have a motion, or we have to do a voice or a roll call for that, right? Okay, so we've got a motion for a second reading on several bills. Colleen, you got the bills down there? Okay, Mr. Preston, you're seconding it, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's try voice vote. This is just on the approval for the second reading. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Colleen, you're earning that paycheck tonight.
What is it, though? Nobody's told me.
It's a secret.
Okay. Bill 2979, an ordinance of the city of Wildwood, Missouri, authorizing the purchase of one 2025 Chrysler Voyager van from the David Taylor Ellisville dealership for a cost not to exceed $41,000 to replace the Department of Planning and Parks 2005 Dodge Caravan. Bill 2980, an ordinance of the city of Wildwood, Missouri, authorizing the adjustment of 3 legal lots of record, being Lot A and B of 4715 Chateau Lane and 18815 Vixen Drive, boundary adjustment plat, as recorded in Plat Book 373, page 23, and Lot 204A of Fox Creek Valley, Plat Number 6, adjustment plat, as recorded in Plat Book 373, page 172, and tracts of land in sections 29 and 32, Township 44 North, Range 3 East, located on the east and west side of Chateau Lane, north of Model Realty Road, and to be hereafter known as Chateau Square Boundary Adjustment Plat. Bill 2981, an ordinance of the city of Wildwood, Missouri, reauthorizing the consolidation of 2 legal lots of record, being lots 1 and 2 of the Boyle Holcomb lot split of adjusted Lot A, located within Section 25, Township 45 North, Range 3 East, situated at the intersection of Shepherd Road and Shepherd Ridge Road, and to be hereafter known as Boyle Holcomb Estate Lot Consolidation Plat. Bill 2984, an ordinance of the city of Wildwood, of the city of Wildwood that hereby authorizes the consolidation of 2 legal lots of record, being under the same ownership and more specifically being described as part of Lot 18 of the Courtois or Hamilton Creek Tract in U.S. Survey 3206, Township 44 North, Range 3 East of the 5th Principal Meridian, City of Wildwood, St. Louis County, Missouri, now hereafter to be known as Consolidated Plat Swallow. Bill 2987, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri that amends Section 4, Item K of C-8 Planned Commercial District Ordinance Number 2927 to allow for the existing post and arms sign that abuts the Manchester Road right-of-way area to remain as currently installed, with such being consistent with the Planning and Zoning Commission's letter of recommendation dated April 7th, 2025. Is that right?
That sounds right. All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I believe we should have included 2983 in that as well.
Okay. 2983 it is. Nope. Yeah. Let's read 2983.
Okay, 2983, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood that hereby authorizes the adjustment of certain common boundary lines between two legal lots of record, with such being under the same ownership, and will address the current placement of an existing structure within a building setback area, with both of these properties so described as in the boundary adjustment plat of Lot 3 of Eagles Rest subdivision and new parcel A of boundary adjustment plat of 3 parcels in the north half of Section 21, Township 44 North, Range 3 East of the 5th Principal Meridian, City of Wildwood, St. Louis County, Missouri, to be hereafter known as Eagles Rest subdivision plat 2.
Okay. And with that, this next, I guess we need a motion, right, to do them all in mass, or do we just vote for them? Okay, so we've had the second reading for a number of our agenda items here this evening. So this next vote is going to be specific to those items that we read twice. That would be to support all of them. Unless there's something that somebody feels very important we need to take out, which I don't recommend. I guess we could do that. But if not, we'll do a voice vote to pass. Colleen, you got your list down there for all of your readings? Anybody want me to restate the agenda items? Are we good? Okay. All those in favor of passing our second readings, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, all those items passed. That's good to get those off. The next, the ones that we didn't have second readings for, obviously we will see here next month. And with that, it takes us to the consent agenda, of which there isn't any. We did that in the first one. So any miscellaneous items or anything anybody wants to say? Mr. Alvarez.
Were we gonna read the Lucky Dog signage thing again?
Oh, that was I think we did that one. That was 87. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
So we passed that one. So they get to have their sign.
Okay, I'm sorry. Too many. We got that one?
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, real quickly, I don't know who to address this question to, but I would like some predictability to the posting of meeting videos after the meetings, because I watch a lot of the meetings at my leisure instead of just sitting there for 2 hours while it's going on. And you can fast forward the parts that, are slow or whatever. But anyway, is that, I don't know who to ask this to, but if we could get it like within 48 hours or something like that, it might be Colleen.
For the city council meeting, it would be Colleen, but for it, we have like a point person for each department. So not department, each committee.
So maybe it's to you. I'm sorry.
that's
And
okay.
I could have asked this in another forum, but I would like to get a predictable delivery on.
48 hours is completely understandable.
Okay.
And we'll be in.
If you can do that, it'd be great. Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you again, everybody, for re-electing me as mayor pro tem. Maybe we'll get to fill in and do this again should Mayor Garetano not be here, but I appreciate everybody coming out. Welcome to our new council members. If there's nothing else, I will look for a motion to adjourn for the evening. Made by Mr. Rottenberg, seconded by Mr. Preston, non-debatable. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? All right, thanks, everybody, and welcome to all our new council members.